It's time to awaken to your ultimate potential.
Always something to learn.
The more real and truthful you can get with yourself, the happier you're going to be.
Nothing happens in the comfort zone.
There are no set rules on how to attain success and to feel fulfilled.
Each one of us are born with a purpose.
For me, I knew there was something bigger.
You don't conquer the mountain, you conquer yourself.
I'm Kristel Bauer, wellness expert and entrepreneur. Each week, I'm speaking with incredible individuals, inspiring you to awaken your ultimate potential. Welcome to the Live Greatly podcast.
We're so lucky to have an incredible guest today, Scott Aaron. Scott is passionate about teaching others how to create human connection, build their brands, and grow their wealth through the means of LinkedIn. As an experienced professional with 2 decades of work in leadership, personal training, wellness, and the personal coaching industries, he's learned the importance of not only taking care of one's own body, but more importantly, the mindset and loving each day with utmost happiness. Scott's an award-winning online marketer, 2 times best-selling author, top podcaster and speaker, and is a go-to specialist when it comes to converting traffic, establishing connections, creating income, and building personal brands on LinkedIn. So welcome, Scott. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Kristel. It's an honor and a privilege, and just really grateful to be here.
Fantastic. Well, I want to chat about a bunch of things, but I thought that talking about how to really build connection would be a really good place to start, because that's something that you specialize in. So I'm curious, like, for what we're going through right now with, the pandemic, what tips, suggestions do you have for people to really establish that connection that we all really are looking for?
Well, there's 2 things that people are really craving right now more than ever. Number 1 is community. People naturally love being a part of something. And as you mentioned, with everything that's going on with the pandemic, every state is different. Here in New Jersey, we are still practicing social distancing, not gathering in large groups and all that. So we can't create that community feel in person. So we've had to rely on a lot of external resources such as Zoom or online. But the other thing that people are craving even more is connection. When something is taken away from you, you end up wanting it more. And connection is one of those things where it really not only drives us personally, but it drives us professionally. And the biggest shift that I've seen is for most people, and again, I call myself, or people have coined me the human connection expert, because that's all I've done over the last 23 years, going back to when I was a sports nutritionist and personal trainer for 18 years. And then, over the last 6 or 7 years, I've been doing more business coaching and consulting, but it's all derived around really connecting with people and finding out what their goal is. The big issue, and I would say stumbling block, that a lot of people are having right now is how to create that in an online environment. Everyone can do it in person, whether you're sitting at a bar with someone or going out to dinner or just going for a walk. It's very easy to do that in person. And people are really having a tough time translating that to online. So the suggestion that I have for people that are looking to easily, without resistance, without confusion, how to really create that community and that connection online is through video content. Video content, I have found even before the pandemic, was the best way for people to get to know me. Now, second to that is a podcast, which is, a very intimate experience for the listener. But, so many people, not just in the country where we live, but around the world, are spending so much more time on social media because it's an outlet right now. People want to go for somewhere for positivity or a break from everything that's going on from the news outlets. So they go to social media, and people love to be connected to people. And, the days where we would just post content and, just put stuff out there, it's not that they're going away, but people are looking to engage more deeply. And if people can kind of get out of their own way, because a lot of people are very afraid of being on camera for the fear of judgment, for the fear of what are people going to think of me? Is my makeup perfect? Does my hair look okay? I need to look the part, quote unquote. Then they end up not doing anything at all. But I tell people the most important factor of really establishing true connection is building the know, like, and trust factor. And the know, like, and trust factor can most easily be built online through video content where someone can see you, they can feel you, and they can hear you.
I love that. I recently recorded a show with someone else who was talking about that people connect with people. So I think there is this idea, like, you have to look perfect if you're doing videos, and I remember the first video I posted a while back, I was nervous. It was uncomfortable because it was something new and I was overthinking it. And I think I recorded it, I don't know, like 5 times, maybe more, right? Like trying to find the perfect one. And then the one I ended up using was the first one, which is pretty funny. But I don't do that anymore. But that came with just practice, like anything else. You put the first one out, maybe you're a little bit nervous, maybe you're super confident and you're totally fine with it. But wherever you are, I think it gets easier the more that you do it. And that whole idea, like humans connect with humans, like if you don't look perfect, people relate to that. It's so much more relatable than coming across as like super composed. I think it's more natural just to let things flow. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. I think, I love social media, and we were talking about this in the pre-show, how I choose to disconnect Friday through Sunday, and I still am omnipresent. I still post, but I don't hang out on social media on the weekends. And I love all the platforms for what they're for. I love Facebook. I love Instagram. I love LinkedIn. The one platform that I have the biggest problem with, and it's the biggest love-hate relationship, is Instagram. And the reason why is because I feel, it's not that I know or I think, I feel that it is the fakest and most oversaturated, image-driven social media platform out there. And it's causing a lot of people to get into a very, very dangerous area of playing the comparison game, because you start looking at the quote unquote highlights of someone's life and how great it is that they're living, even though deep down you question how perfect their life is, but you can't really base it off of anything else because you're only seeing those great aspects of every one of their days. So you start comparing yourself and where you actually should be compared to where you are. And then you go down this rabbit hole of worthiness and negativity. So for me, the platform of Instagram, I feel, is doing more of a disservice to people than anything else, because as you mentioned, now people strive for perfection. They're striving for that perfect filter. They're striving for that perfect post that's going to get engagement. And I remember reading an article somewhere, Kristel, that said, how differently would you treat social media if there was no like or comment button? Where you didn't know. You literally, it didn't show you the views. It didn't show you who liked it. No one could comment. You just had to produce content. How differently would you show up? Because Kristel, I see men and women doing it, especially on Instagram. They use their bodies to get engagement.
Yeah, I think, I totally understand where you're coming from. And these are thoughts that I've kind of had to process and figure out, well, what role is it going to have in my business and in my life? And it was funny. I was just before recording, I was out for a run. I ran into a friend who lives close by, and she's also an entrepreneur. And we were chatting and we started talking about Instagram. And I was like, I am trying to figure out what place it has in my business, because I love inspiring people. I love sharing my message. But what I've noticed is when I think about it, I focus a lot on things I don't like, oh, I don't like this about Instagram. I don't like that style. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I was saying to her, I'm like, I need to stop focusing on that. I need to start focusing on what I do like, what I do want to do with it, on my mission, what I'm trying to achieve. So I think that kind of goes down to coming back to yourself. So if you're following people who aren't making you feel good, don't follow them. If you're comparing yourself to people, don't follow them. Really, it's about trying to stay true to who you are. And kind of my goal with it is, okay, I want to use it as a platform to share my message authentic to me. And on my journey, like I've learned, okay, I don't want to be perfect all the time because that's not natural. So gosh, I just did a post the other day, like of being a working mom and having mismatched socks on with like my dress on over, looking all like pretty on top. And then I had my like workout pants and mismatched socks, because I think that's more relatable for people. So I think there's like different ways you can go about it. And if you're going to be engaging in, Instagram, social media, you really have to be grounded and you really have to know who you are and, stay true to yourself, because you could definitely can get carried away with all the things out there. I totally agree.
And when you are, and this is what I want people to understand as you're listening to this, if you find yourself seeking perfection, you're chasing something that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
There is no such thing as perfection. Everyone is perfectly imperfect in their own way. So when you're chasing something that doesn't exist, you're going to take yourself down a path that's only going to lead you to not feeling good. And that's why, happiness trumps everything. It's all about being happy. I get on to Instagram. I'm enjoying it now more than ever because I just speak my truth. I show my wife and I all the time. I do a couple IGTVs where, I was very transparent. I did an IGTV a couple weeks ago where I basically told people, listen, I had a following at one point on Instagram that was over 40,000. And it got there because I was instructed by some other influencers to buy your following. And I did that, and I bought my following, and it ruined my entire Instagram account. And I actually hired a company that came in and cleaned everything back up and removed close to 14,000 of my followers. But the interesting thing is, as the followers decreased, my engagement 10x'd, because the real people that were there the whole time weren't seeing what I was doing, but now they are. So it took me back to something that I always speak about. It's always the quality over the quantity. You don't need that. You don't need 100,000 followers to have some sort of impact on the world. It's the one person that you impact that takes your message and sends it to someone else. And Kristel, every single week, I can't tell you whether it's in a comment or a DM or an email that someone mentions that something I posted, they're like, I needed to hear this today. Because I'm very intuitive. I know what people want to hear based on how I'm feeling, because I'm a human being. I always tell people, whenever you're sharing content on social media, make sure you're doing it where you're looking at your audience from eye level. You're looking right into their eyes. You're not looking down on them like you're putting yourself on a pedestal, because again, none of us are more important than the other person. We're all of the same importance. And when you can speak to someone on an eye level, you're looking right in their eyes, you're going to connect with them much more, because again, people are seeking genuineness. They're seeking authenticity. They're seeking realness. They're seeking someone that's just like them, but just maybe a couple steps ahead. And all you're doing is leaving footprints of success for them to walk alongside to get to where they want to be, not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. And I think the fact that you have learned those lessons with social media, I think that's kind of part of the learning curve, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to figure it all out. It's great that you were able to recognize that and then shift gears. And it sounds like it's worked out really well for you. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn, because I know you spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I've absolutely loved LinkedIn. I never had a LinkedIn account before I started my business the end of last year. And it's been fantastic. I had a totally different idea of what it was before I joined it. Like I thought, I don't know, there's a lot more like dialogue and opportunity for, creativity than I was envisioning. I kind of envisioned it as like ads or something. I don't know what I was thinking about, but what I found is that there's a real opportunity there, whether you're starting out a business, you're trying to grow your business, you're switching to more of an online platform. So I would love to hear some of your tips and thoughts on how to excel on LinkedIn and also kind of try and establish financial wellness in the current climate.
Well, I'm just like you. I started a LinkedIn account back in 2009, did nothing with it. I thought it was for recruiters, and I thought it was how to go find a job, just like monster.com. And when I was kind of thrusted onto LinkedIn for personal reasons, I was feeling disconnected from other human beings on Facebook and Instagram. I found myself just scrolling and trolling, posting and praying. It wasn't leading to any meaningful conversations. I went back and I remembered something that one of my first mentors said to me, Susan Sly, and she said, listen, you need to wake up every day and look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, how are you going to connect with yourself today? Something clicked. I'm like, that's it. I'm looking to establish connection with someone that's just like me from a business standpoint, other trainers, other nutritionists, other gym owners, other group fitness instructors, because we're all craving the same thing, which is connection. And I can't search for those people on Facebook and Instagram. I wanted to go to a platform where I could search for them. And that's when I got back onto LinkedIn, dusted off my profile, changed everything around. And literally it's changed my life. Like my wife and I, our entire consulting practice firm and everything that we do is based off of LinkedIn. It's our business. And we teach not how to use LinkedIn. We teach how to create human connection, which leads to more revenue, because the simple 4-step process to creating revenue is having genuine leads, which create conversations, which create a conversion into your business, which relates to and creates revenue. But most people aren't taking the time to foster those relationships and nurture those relationships. And for me, I break LinkedIn down into four key things. And I call it the layer cake of LinkedIn. So if you can picture a wedding cake, you have the big tier at the bottom, and then a medium tier, small tier, and a figurine of the happy couple on the top. The base of what you need to do is optimizing your profile. Just like a website, when Microsoft bought out LinkedIn, they embedded search engine optimization onto your profile, where if you don't have certain keywords, you're basically invisible. And you will know you're invisible because you have a dashboard, and it will tell you how many searches you have appeared in the last 7 days, how many people have viewed your profile, just like a website. So you have to go through, and whatever searches you want to appear in, whoever your target market is, you need to have those specific keywords. And if anyone goes to my profile, you'll see, it says, best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, business coach, LinkedIn leads, LinkedIn business, whatever it is. And those are scattered throughout the about me section, my experience section, my headline, everywhere. So if someone's going on and searching for LinkedIn leads, guess who's going to pop up on one of the first searches? Me. So you have to make sure that your profile is optimized the right way. The second thing is the build of your network. And this is, I think, one of the biggest things for me that I loved, because it was the perfect demographic for me. Average age is 30 to 55. You're allowed 30,000 genuine connections before the follow feature kicks in. And the average income that someone makes on LinkedIn is $100,000 a year or more. And I wanted to talk to people that had the monetary literacy that I did. I wanted to talk to people that believed in investing in themselves and their business. I wanted someone that was very conscious of their relationship with money, but also within my age. I wasn't trying to convince someone that was either younger or older than me that they needed to work with me. I wanted to talk to my demographic, but also, Gary Vaynerchuk says it best. He goes, your net worth is in direct correlation to your net worth. Mm-hmm. And since you're allowed 30,000 connections, if you have a large network, you can have a large net worth. And that's exactly what happened with our company. I went from 500 connections to nearly 28,000 in the last 3.5 years. So you can imagine the growth that's actually happened on the back end of that. So you have to think about, who's my ideal client? Who's the ideal person that's going to make a decision to work with me? Or who should I network with? So there's 2 criteria that I have when I'm building my network. If someone sends me a connection request, or if I'm sending one out, they have to fit into 2 buckets. Bucket A, Would this person benefit from what I have to offer? If they don't fit my business, I'm not going to bother connecting with them. But number two, they may fit into the other bucket. Is this someone that does something within a profession where I would be interested in networking with them, where maybe they can introduce me to my ideal client? So it's got to fit one of those two things. Now, the third tier is messaging. And this is where typically the wheels fall off, because now that you've spent some good time on LinkedIn, I'm sure you've gotten those 18 paragraph long drunkalog messages of people trying to sell you and pitch you and watch this video and sign up for this course and I can help you and buy what I have, and they're selling and pitching. That is the easiest way for me to not only remove you as a connection, but I will block you from being able to connect with me ever again, because you haven't taken the time to know me. Whenever you're sending a connection request to someone, do not add a note trying to sell or pitch. But especially if you're going to message someone, I've created something called the magic formula. It's a three-tier formula for creating and crafting a message that if you use it, it will get a high response rate. So the first step is acknowledging the person. Hi, Kristel, great to be connected to you. Not dear Kristel, comma, space, indent. People are using automation now and bots on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you right now, Microsoft is watching what you're doing and they will kick you off if you're using automation. And there's going to be companies out there that try to sell you on automation to connect for you and message for you. Do not do it. It's the easiest way to get to LinkedIn jail, and it exists and you could get there. So you just make it very casual. Hey, Kristel, great to be connected to you. Second part is I call lowering the drawbridge. So if you know what a drawbridge is, when it's up, it allows the boats to pass back and forth. When it's down, the traffic can then start flowing again. So you need to lower the drawbridge to that person of why you're reaching out, the connecting point of why you're reaching out. So, hey, Kristel, great to connect to you. I noticed that you are also a podcast host, as am I. Would love to hear how your show is going, share more about mine and how it's doing, and how we can best support each other here on the platform. Now, I've done two things. Number one, I've bridged the gap. I've lowered the drawbridge. So when Kristel reads that message, she's going to say, that makes sense. Scott's a podcaster. I'm a podcaster. That's why he's reaching out. But number two, I used one of the most important words in the English language, besides Kristel's name, and that's the word support. So it's been scientifically proven that when someone reads the word support and says it in their head, it creates a trigger and a release of one of our natural hormones and chemicals that our brain produces called oxytocin. This is our feel-good brain chemical, just like endorphins when we get the runner's high, or dopamine when we get a quick shot of something exciting, or even cortisol, which is our stress hormone. So this person is feeling good as they're reading the message. The third part is something called a CTA, a call to action. Statements lead to nowhere, questions lead to answers. So if I just say, Kristel, let me know when's good for you, she's never going to say when because I haven't asked. So you have to ASK to GET. You have to ask in order to get. So I would just say, do you have any time for a call or Zoom later this week? That's it. That is the proper way to message someone to get them to respond back to you. Now, the fourth layer and the most underrated, undervalued, and underutilized is content creation. Here's a statistic that everyone needs to know. There are now about 630 million people globally on LinkedIn. 1% of them, which is 6.3 million people, are posting at least one time per week that are leading to over 9 billion engagements on their content, which means 99% of the people on LinkedIn are in content consumption mode. So you have to be that one that's putting out the content. So here's what you simply need to do. And if you can commit to this, you will get some headway on LinkedIn. Post 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, once each of those days. And you can do content in 3 different ways: posts, articles, and videos. Now, if you were to say to me, Scott, what should I go all in on? Video, obviously, number 1, post number 2, articles number 3, in my opinion. But if you could commit to doing 1 video, 1 article, and 1 post a week, that will start to separate you from everyone else. Now, if you're going to produce content, you need to do one of 2 things. Number 1, educate your audience without selling them, and inform them without selling them. You don't want to pitch and sell. You need to over deliver on value. So how-to posts,
Yep.
or list articles, or how-to videos, 3 ways to practice gratitude, or 4 tips on how to start a meditation practice. That's going to bring people closer to you instead of pushing them further away. Going back to what I said earlier, looking at people eye level. When you are writing content on LinkedIn, you need to think about the passenger in the car, not the driver. You need to think about what that end user wants to hear, not what you want to say.
Wow. Okay. Those were some real gems. I'm like writing things down as you're talking. The one that I'm curious about is the messaging piece. That has thrown me. I've gotten so many different tips on this, and a lot of it just never felt natural to me, as far as like some of the questions to ask. And then someone was like, well, you need to let people know what services you have. And I'm like, well, then I did that. I'm like, but then I feel like I'm selling right away. So I've been kind of playing back and forth. And now I really kind of have just backed off, where, I'll send a connection request here and there, and then I get a bunch of them. But I'm curious, like, for that, the way that you went about building that connection. You started off with like a casual hello. Then do you do another message after that, or is it all in that one message?
You want to take it from online to offline as quickly as possible. I will tell people, if they start getting into a message battle with me, I pull back. And I'll say, listen, this is the least humanizing way to connect with someone, through Messenger. If you would like to continue the conversation, here's my calendar link and you can schedule a call. If not, continued success. I do not have time to, quote unquote, message people all the time. I want to get to know someone. I want to hop on a Zoom. I want to see them. I want to hear what they want to do. I want to hear what their goals are. I want to share what I do, and maybe there's some overlap where something could be done. And that's the thing. If you don't message people, you have no opportunity to share what you do. The people that say, oh, first message, tell them what you do. Absolutely not. You know why? Because that person never asked. If they didn't ask what you do, why are you telling them? Everyone assumes, oh, this person needs what I have. I'm going to let them know what I do. They're perfect. Because I'll get someone that says, oh, hey, Scott, I see you're an online business owner. I help business owners like you get more leads. And I'll respond back. I'm like, did you read anything on my profile at all where you can see scattered throughout, it mentions that I help business owners get leads? So people are not even, it's a spray and pray method, right? They're just connecting with as many people as they can, sending as many messages as they can, and hopefully the skies will open up and they will drop people into their lap. And that's not the way that you build rapport and trust with people. You have to earn the right to sell someone. And you earn that right by establishing the connection with them first. And here's the thing. If you are quote unquote too busy, that's one of the words I despise the most, because busy really means you're not committed. Busy really means that you're uninterested. So the word busy in the adult form language is the child's version of the dog ate my homework. So when people don't want to get on the phone with you, oh, I'm really busy right now. If you are too busy to make 15 or 20 minutes for someone else's time, which is the most valuable commodity we all have, you may have to rethink what business that you're in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the people that I've really had meaningful connections with, it always happens with a conversation. That's where all the things develop, because then you start to trust somebody. It's really, I think what I've been struggling with is just trying to get over that, like figure out how to get past that initial conversation where it comes across authentic and natural, because I think a lot of times things sound scripted, or I think that having that conversation on the online platform for me is still out of my comfort zone, where I much prefer to get it to like a real live conversation as quickly as possible. but I haven't known how to do that. So this is really helpful.
And the other two things, Kristel, I'll tell you is that people try to put swings on things where they'll send a voice note instead.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake. People are more likely to listen to a message of someone's voice and never respond.
It's interesting because it did give me a sense of like, this is a little, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I don't know why that is.
So you have to understand that human beings are auditory and visual learners, right? In certain capacities. When you are messaging someone and you want a response, they have to visually see a question being asked. So if you record a message and ask them a question in the message, it is really easy for that person to never respond back because they're not visually seeing a visual aid of a question that prompts a response. So I never, ever send a voice note. The only time I'll send a voice note is to send a gratitude message to someone or to just say thank you for something. That's it. I never try to prospect them or message them. The power of spoken word, but in the visual standpoint where they can see the question mark, because we've been trained since we were kids that a question prompts a response. So if you want another human being, no matter how young or old they are, to answer a question, you need to ask them a question. Now, in the video capacity, I love when people do this. They send a little video message like, thanks for connecting and would love to learn about. Listen, it's like being on YouTube. What are you're going to scroll right past it. Again, I know people are looking for tips and tricks and shortcuts of how to get someone to respond. Sometimes you have to go back to the basics. And the easiest way to get someone a response is to give them a visual question to read. And again, everyone could have their own thoughts and opinions on this. I love written word because it allows me to see what kind of individual I'm connecting with. Because again, I can send voice messages all day. I can send videos all day. I love knowing when someone opens my message, they're going to see it and they're going to read it. And if they are prompted to with a question, they're going to respond. Not every time, but Kristel, the big thing is this. Everyone, it is a very uncomfortable thing to just start messaging people, to start connecting. But again, it's that fear of, oh, how's this person going to respond? What are they going to think? What are they going to say? What if they don't respond? They're all stories. Doesn't matter. I'm always so forward thinking. I just keep messaging people because I know it's a numbers game. It comes back to a great book that I read called Go for No by Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton. Andrea is a good friend of mine. I'm actually interviewing her tomorrow for like a third or fourth time. We're good friends. And it says, yes is the destination, but no is how you're going to get there. So you have to fail forward. You got to get through all those no's so the yeses show up. So I fell in love with the word no. I want to be told no because I know the more no's I get, the yeses are about to show up.
I love that, right? It's just getting over that. That shift in perspective makes all the difference to get over the fear of hearing no and instead embrace it as part of the process to getting to where you really want to end up. I love it. Well, we are coming to a close. This has been such a rich conversation, so many valuable tips, and I would love for you to share how people can find you if they want to work with you, also where they can find your books and anything special you're currently working on.
I appreciate that. So my website, www.scottaaron.net. Actually, there'll be a pop-up where if you put your name and email, I actually have a free infographic on how to start setting up your profile on LinkedIn. It's just a free gift, so you can just go to the website and grab that. Also on Amazon, I have 3 best-selling books. My latest best-selling book is called The Marketing Workbook for LinkedIn. So amongst the 4 tips that I just gave you guys, the workbook, it's 45 pages. It's available on Kindle or paperback. Order the paperback because I gave you space to write in the book. So it's a way for you to go through my LinkedIn principles and theories and how you can apply it towards your business. So if you go on Amazon and you just type in Scott Aaron books, you'll see that there's a few on there that you could buy. And, on LinkedIn, you can just search Scott Aaron. On Facebook, you can do the same thing. And on Instagram, my handle is @ScottAaronLinkedIn, and would love to connect.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Kristel. I appreciate you. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thanks so much.
Learn more about me and Live Greatly at www.livegreatly.co. Make sure to check out my Instagram page at livegreatly_co. And please subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review if you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends and family. And until next time, this is Kristel Bauer with Live Greatly, inspiring you to awaken your ultimate potential.